All right. Enunciation Latin class. Tonight we start chapter 7, part 1, capitulum septum, pars una, puella et rosa. So let's start with our opening prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So for tonight, we're going to hit chapter 7. In chapter 7, there's a number of things, key things. There's a few other things in here, but these are the ones that are key that I listed. The dative, dativus. If you remember, well, let me skip ahead just for the heck of it. We had this table of the nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, ablative, and vocative. And so far, we've had all of them except the dative. Okay, well, we get that tonight, finally. And that's useful because the dative is what we use for the indirect objects. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Then the pronomina reflexa, or the reflexive pronoun. That sounds more scary than what it really is. If I say I looked into the mirror and I saw myself, that would be the reflexive pronoun. Okay, I saw myself. So reflexive pronouns are often translated as myself, herself, his self, himself, etc. So then nonne and num. I'll try very hard to explain those. Latin has a way of asking a question where it expects either a confirmation or a negation. English kind of has that, but we sort of have to we have a way of doing a circumlocution or kind of a way of doing that by adding a whole bunch of extra words. And when you're all done, you're not sure whether you're saying yes or no. If you've seen have you seen the movie Clue, which is like ancient? They have a little scene in there where they have a little riff on that, meaning yes, meaning no, you did see it, or no, yes, you did see it, and stuff. So you know what I'm talking about. Great. Oh, wow. Alex, what's Alex's problem here?
It's hilarious.
Yeah, Alex has tried. Allison, is Alex having a bad internet day, or do you know? Oh, well, anyway, proceed onward here. Then he, hoc, basically that's how you say this in Latin. Now you got to be a little bit careful because there's also hic. Did I say hic? No, I hope I said hic, hoc. Short vowels. Hic means here and illic means there. And these look very similar to this and that, but there is that long I in there. So let's get started here. I will bring up, whoops. And here I was nicely on the Familia Romana. Okay. So I'm going to zoom that. All right. I'll start things off by reading the first paragraph. Let's see here. Ecce Marcus et Quintus ante ostium vile, puere Julium expectant. So if you're being a little flowery, you'd say behold, but here, look, Marcus and Quintus are in front of the door of the villa. Okay. Puere Julium expectant, the boys are expecting Julius. Mater non est apud filios, ea in peristilo est. Illic virum suum expectant. Now, the mother is not with the boys. Okay, she is in the peristelium. Ilik, this is the first new word here. There, ilik is there, hic is here. So do they have a nice, I don't think they have a nice little sidebar on that. Nope, too bad. Yeah, so ilik means there, hic means here. So there, meaning the peristilo. See, we're out front with the boys here, so it's not, she wouldn't say here, we'd say there, because she's over in the peristilum. Ilik virum suum expectant. She is expecting her man there. Now, virum can mean man, but it can also mean husband in this context. And to a certain extent, we do that same thing in English. My wife says, well, my wife would probably say, I'm expecting my husband, but it would be equally intelligible if she said, I'm expecting my man for dinner or something. Emilia laeta non est, quia Julius abest. Emilia is not happy because Julius is not there. Nam Emilia virum suum amat, for Emilia loves her man. So, who wants to go? Everybody understand that so far? Let's start there.
I can do it.
I have a question about the first paragraph there.
Okay.
And I guess it has to do with really on how much like word order influences the understanding, I guess, versus just only looking at the declinations.
Okay.
So the first sentence, ecce Marcus et Quintus ante ostium villae.
Okay.
So are they in front of the door to the villa, or
yes.
are they in front of the door of their villa? Like does the villa in that sense belong to Ostium, or does it belong to Marcus et Quintus? I mean, Ostium makes the most sense kind of looking at it, but I guess my question is, how much influence does word order have on the genitive case here? Like, is it they're in front of the door which belongs to the villa, or they're in front of the door of the villa which belongs to them?
Well, Marcus and Quintus is not in the genitive, so the door would have to belong to the villa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're asking. I was totally lost there as to what you were asking. I'm sorry. Thank you, Teresa, for saying that. I was going, what is he talking about? Okay. Word order is fairly flexible in Latin, okay, but it is not random. I mean, you can't, I don't know if you've ever seen the game with the magnets that has a bunch of English words on it and you arrange them into sentences and stuff. The genitive part needs to stay with the part that it is the genitive of.
Okay.
So yes, so this is the door of the villa. It is the door that belongs to the villa. Okay. Not the door that belongs to Marcus and Quintus. If you want the door that belongs to Marcus and Quintus, then you would say ostium marci, the door, Marcus's door, or ostium quinti, Quintus's door. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Question?
Yes, that does that.
Yeah, perfectly. There are certain things. Okay. For example, the non should always go before the verb. So you can't say mater est apud filios non. Okay. You couldn't say that. You could say that in German because German puts the negation at the end, which is rather frustrating. Because with a German sentence, you basically have to have the whole thing to have any idea of what they're talking about. But no, the non. Now you could say mater apud filios non est, or apud filios mater non est. I mean, there's you can shift around the units. Okay, but this is a preposition that is the noun that is associated with that preposition, and those two cannot be split. Likewise, the non and the est cannot be split. So you
Gotcha.
could take the mater, the non est, and the apud filios, and think of those as 3 units and move them around any way you want. Likewise, you could do the ante ostium vile, and then the Marcus et Quintus, and you could say ante ostium vile Marcus et Quintus est. You could play with that, but the ante ostium vile has got to go together.
Okay, good. That makes sense.
Because anyway, if you split off the ostium, then you don't know what that preposition is. Well, I wouldn't say modifying, but you don't know what noun is associated with that preposition. So,
Michael?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's fine without using the verb to be.
Oh, yes, you could just say Marcus and Quintus. Yeah, you can say
simply say, behold Marcus and Quintus in front of the door of their villa.
yes.
That's
true. You don't. Yeah, that's true. You
don't have to work in a verb.
Yeah. Well, verbs. I pay my verbs a lot, so I want to get their money's worth.
All right.
Was that Alice Through the Looking Glass, or was that?
That's in the 3rd paragraph.
Yeah. No. I mean the book.
Yeah.
Remember the character? He says he pays his words and he expects them to work hard. It's in one of the Alice in Wonderland series. And
Okay.
I'm totally
I
forgotten.
misunderstood what you were talking about.
No. Anyway, okay. Any more questions on the first paragraph? Okay. Oh, so you're going to take the short one. Is that it, Alex?
Well, I could take the
Hey,
next one if you want.
take the next 2.
Okay. Ubi est Julia in cubiculo suo est. Julia que sola est illic, rosam ante nasum tenet, quella lacrimat in oculis eius sunt lacrimae. Where is Julia? She is in her room. Julia, who is alone there, holds a rose before her nose. The girl cries. In her eyes are tears.
Very good.
Julia speculum sumit et ante oculos tenet.
Yeah, hold on. Oculos.
Oculos.
Oculos. Short O.
Yeah, short O.
The first one is
Oculos tenet. Quella se in speculo videt et se interrogat.
Interrogat.
Interrogat. Esme fedus nasus meus, nasus eius antem formosos non est. Julia versus lacrimat.
Yeah, I always trip over Rursus. I don't know why.
That's a hard word. Okay. Julia takes a mirror and holds it in front of her eyes. In front of the eyes. The girl herself, the girl sees herself in the mirror and asks herself, is my nose ugly? Her nose, however, is not her nose, however, is not beautiful. I don't quite understand that. Julia again cries.
Yeah.
So that's how she sees her nose, that it's not beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's what they mean by that.
She's going through puberty, obviously.
Maybe not yet. I think Julia is actually I think Quintus and Marcus were sort of preteens. I think Julia was younger.
I have a vocabulary question.
But they did pick on her. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I got confused when I first read this because in the companion, it maybe I misinterpreted it, but it seems to suggest that say was for was masculine and CB was feminine, but maybe is CB plural? Is that what it is? Because here we're using say for herself and not masculine, obviously.
Oh, say is okay. All right. Well, let's talk about that. I happen to have a chart about that. I have to figure out which one. Let's see here. I think it's this one. Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it in the companion, it lists say as being himself and CB for herself.
Yeah,
Clearly here it means herself, not himself.
yeah. That's I could open up the companion, but that's probably misleading the way they've written it. Anyway, let's go through reflexive pronouns now that you brought it up. Okay. The reason it's called reflexive is because it refers or reflects back to the subject of the sentence. It is always the subject of the sentence or the subject of the clause. You know, it could be a subordinate clause where it's where it's referring back to the subject of the subordinate clause. But anyway, the key thing is the subject or is the recipient of the action. Okay. So Julia se vidit in speculo.
I think that's supposed to be Vedet. Videt.
Yeah, what did I say?
Videt.
Yeah. Is that what I said or did I said Veda?
No, it's just VIDET.
Oh, no, vidit. Video. Vidit.
It is
Sorry.
spelled as videt on the in the book.
Yeah, it's vidit. Yeah, see, okay, to see is video. And it's in the
It's a second declension. I mean, it's a second conjugation verb, isn't it?
dictionary. Video.
I think it's second conjugation.
You know what? Whoops. Hold on. Click on that. Did I? You know what? I copied that from the book.
It's Videt.
And you know why? Well, no, hold on. Let me explain something. Vidit is the perfect tense.
Oh, well, is that what's happening here?
Snuck in a perfect tense.
Is that what you
To be
intended?
saw. No, there we go. Let's no, you haven't had the perfect tense yet. So let's not
Okay.
any more confusing. You're right. Well, that's why I was so puzzled. You know, vidette, that's perfectly, you know, and I realized, oh, wait, we're dealing in the present tense here. Anyway, thank you. Julia se vidette in speculo. So Julia sees herself in the mirror. So the say here refers back to Julia. And you know, really, we could say Julia sees him in the mirror, or Julia sees her being another one. And you would put, instead of say, you would say am for her or am for him. Or id.
It looks like the companion has reversed the order when it refers to himself and herself, because it has himself as say and herself as CB.
Well,
from what we got there, it's just the reverse.
Okay, hold on here. Now, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Let me. In this case, this is the direct object. Julia sees herself. Okay. Julius sibi malum dat. Let me make it a little clearer. Julius
gives
to himself.
Well, that's the dative then.
Yes.
Okay.
Sibi is dative, say is accusative. Do you know what page that is out of curiosity in the companion? Oh, well, we got Villa et Hortus. Let me flip forward and see if they really made a mistake or did they just sort of keep it muddy. Let's see here. Let's see here.
If you look on page 57 of the companion.
Is it 57? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7.
In pronomia. Pronomina.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
wrong,
All right.
isn't it?
All right. All right. I know what they did. That was not written the best way. Say and okay. Let me. I'll get to that in just a second. Let me finish this up. So anyway, reflexive pronouns are never used in the nominative because himself gave to himself an apple makes no sense, right? You just use the nominative form for the pronoun. Okay. So as a result, reflexive pronouns only exist in the accusative, genitive, dative, and ablative. Okay. All right. So if we go to third person, accusative is say. There's also a say. I thought I'd throw that in. That is that's like an intensifier, meaning you're emphasizing that he gave the apple to himself. So we would perhaps in English use our voice to emphasize that. But the genitive, the dative, and the ablative, and that means himself, herself, or itself. Okay, it is irrespective of the gender. And the way they wrote it in the companion, you're right. It made it look like it was himself and herself. But what they meant to say is the accusative and sibi is the dative, and they both mean himself or herself.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I see I see exactly what the confusion is. They had say, comma, sibi, himself, comma, herself, which, you know, if you didn't know better, you would naturally say, oh, say is himself and sibi is herself.
Well, as soon as I read it here, I thought, well,
Yeah, that isn't going to work, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that's all I have. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to emphasize, we actually had these. I gave you a chart, let's see, earlier, where I also had the nominative, which was ego to is, ea, id, although the reflexive pronoun here is different. But other than the third person, okay. Oh, by the way, it's also singular and plural. So, Michael, that's one last thing you got to remember. Okay. It's the same whether it's singular or plural. So I should also add that, so that means it can be themselves as well. It's kind of a weird duck in this sense of it kind of breaks the nice pattern that you have otherwise. But that's the way it is. Okay. Let's see. So I think
I do have some questions about that paragraph.
Sure.
So first is, I'm guessing, so the difference between lacrimare and plorare, I'm guessing plorare is to cry out, and lacrimare, like, it's like crying, like with tears. Would that be correct? Or are they just pure synonyms?
Let's see. There's lacrimat, which is the verb, and lacrimae, which is the noun, tears, crying and tears. What am I missing here?
Oh, well, in I think it was the second chapter, they used plorat for Julia
Okay.
crying.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Okay.
Clamare, I think, means cry out.
Yeah, that's my guess.
I think it's different than this. Is like crying, like you're just
Yes.
sobbing and you're crying. Whereas clamare, I think, is crying out.
Yes. Clamare is to cry out,
in the Psalms, you have people clamare, you know, they cry out to the Lord.
Right.
And then okay, so I noticed it let me see here. Okay, so on line 6, in oculus eius sunt lacrimae, shouldn't eius be suis? Does she not own her eyes, or is it just not seen that way?
It could actually be either one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Now, you can use suis suum if it is the property of the noun in question. But you don't have to.
Okay. Ah, gotcha.
Yes. So it doesn't have to be that way. In the sense that they could put suis if they wanted to in oculis suis sunt lacrimae if they wanted to, but in oculus eius sunt lacrimae are just the fine. And by the way, I was going to say in the Salve Regina in hac lacrimarum vale.
Right.
I was going to say that, but I felt like I was going to interrupt.
Yeah, in this veil of tears. I use the word veil because vale, V-A-L-L-E, is a perfectly good English word, which is veil, as in hill and dale and vale, and it means a shallow valley or depression. But then I read Shakespeare, so what do I know? Modern English usually puts valley in this, valley of tears, but I like this veil of tears, which is, by the way, also the older translation. So, and I'm a curmudgeon, so. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, I'll do the next two. Sira ostium kubukuli, sorry, kubukuli. What is that? Some
Kabuki.
Japanese.
That sounds like the way I'd pronounce it.
Well, I did have a little wine. Maybe that's what it is. Syria, ostium cubiculi pulsat. Julia intra. All right. So Sira is knocking, pulsat, pounding, knocking at the door of the bedroom. And Julia says, intra, enter. So who can take up the next section? In fact, let's tell you what, let's go through, boy, we have a bunch of dialogue. Well, let's go to line 20. That'll be easy.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Sira ostium aperet et in cubiculum intrat, neque ostium posse claudit. Julia Siram posse in speculo videt. Sira non videt lacrimas Juliae, nam puella se non vertit. Sira, o hic est mea puella, veni in hortum Julia. Julia imperat, claude ostium, ancilla paret. Julia, num nasus meus vedus est Sira. So Sira opens the door and goes into the room, but she does not close the door behind herself.
Mhm.
Julia sees Sira behind herself in the mirror.
Right.
Sira does not see Julia's tears because the girl does not turn to her or turn herself. Sira says, "Oh, there's my girl. Come to the garden, Julia." And Julia commands her to close the door. The handmaiden obeys, and Julia asks, "Surely my nose isn't ugly, is it, Sira?"
Okay, very good. All right, any questions on that before we get to the num? Okay,
Michael,
what? Oh, go ahead.
just one vocabulary. On vertit, is it just turns or is it turns away or is it just turns by itself?
In this case, it just says, for the girl does not turn herself.
Mhm.
The implication there is, and vertit, well, all right, hold on, let's bring up the dictionary here. Verto, there we go. means to turn or to turn around or to
Okay,
turn
okay,
about.
so it
So the
can mean,
turnaround is implied in there. Okay.
yeah, so it can mean turn around. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise, if you just turn,
Yeah, you get this picture of her positioning herself away
yeah.
from Syrah, and then, but if she's not turning around, that's kind of the way I was thinking about it.
Right. Right. All right. Let's talk about num and nonne. Oh boy. I hope I hope this makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Now, in English, we can ask a question expecting either a yes or no answer. And even that's it's a little cumbersome in English, because are you saying yes, something is not that way, or you say no, it's not that way? So English has got some,
So you can say, you don't know the answer, do you? And the implication is no.
yes, I agree. I agree. It is expecting a yes or no answer, but you can get wrapped around it, because English does not like double negatives, which can sometimes creep in. But anyway, so you can say the city is beautiful, isn't it? So you have a positive verb, the city is beautiful, isn't it, with a negation, which generally means, hey, isn't this city beautiful?
In English, we'd say, is it not?
Yes. Or we might say, surely the city is beautiful. Okay, that's maybe safe, a more safe way of saying it. But in any case, the question expects for you to agree and say, the city is beautiful. So yes, the city is beautiful. Okay. Now, let's say it's an ugly thing. Then you say, the city isn't beautiful, is it? Oh, that was, sorry, that's not double. I meant, sorry, negation. That's a typo with question. There we go. Or surely the city isn't beautiful. So again, you expect the answer to be no, meaning the city is not beautiful. So in both cases, the way we phrase this is the answer is expected to be in agreement. In Latin, you have a little clearer, I think anyway, distinguishing between the two. Nonne means yes. Oh, I left out my expected answer. Sorry about that. The expected answer is yes. There we go. Nonne urbs est pulchra. So you're asking, this isn't the city beautiful? You might say, isn't the city beautiful? Meaning you expect a yes. Or surely the city is beautiful. So you would say, vere, truly, urbs pulchra est. Okay. So nonne, you're expecting the answer is yes. Num, the expected answer is no. So the city isn't beautiful, is it? Num urbs est pulchra. And then you would say urbs non est pulchra, or minime. Okay.
So oddly, nonne is positive.
Yes.
With the word non, I would have expected it to be negative.
Yes. And to be fair, this trips me up sometimes too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So maybe the way to think of it, nonne, is phrasing it as, isn't this city beautiful?
Or maybe non ne, meaning a question, but
Yeah, it is, because any ne in
it's
front,
just still with a non, you expect it to be negative.
well, no, yes. The ne is how you ask. Have we had that yet? I'm thinking we haven't actually had that. If I say, Estne Britannia Insula. Well, we had Britannia Insula Est. Britain is an island. But to make that into a question, you take the verb and add an NE on it. I don't think we've actually had that, have we?
What's that?
In the Familia Romana, the forming of questions with the ne ending.
Yes,
We've
we've had
We've
that.
had Esne.
We've had esne. Okay.
Yes, no, sutne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's right. Yeah, that's right. We have. Okay, good. Well, so you're really taking the non, which is not, and then turning it into a question. So maybe that's the way to remember is it's not. So the answer is yes, and the num is therefore the answer is no. I don't know. I do get. I myself have to catch myself on that.
Yes, we have no bananas.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes, exactly. I totally agree. So anyway, she's expecting the answer.
That was amazing. Yes.
She's expecting the answer to be no. So she's saying, and now understand when the no is, oh, let me go back here. When I mean no here, the city isn't beautiful, is it? So really what she's asking here, okay, come on, brain, where, oh, there it is. She's really saying num nasus meus fedus est. So she's expecting the answer nasus tuus non fedus est. So, or I should say, nasus tuus fedus est. She's expecting Sarah to agree that her nose is well, that's not the right way to put it. How do I want to put this?
She's wanting her to agree with her misery.
Yeah. Anyways,
Michael,
yeah.
Michael, isn't line 24 the most ridiculous statement in this whole passage?
Oh yes, nasus tuus tam.
In a way, it's an insult.
Oh yeah. Well, the impression you get.
Really, I can imagine that's not much consolation.
No, it wasn't. Well, but keep in mind that Sarah probably does not have regular access to a mirror.
Yeah, Sarah probably doesn't realize.
But and in fact, as we get on there, she looks in the mirror and then goes silent. So,
Or maybe she's just extremely confident.
well, we'll find out later on. Let's see, where'd we end up here? Was it line
starting with 21?
21. That's right, 21. Okay. I want to mention immo.
I just looked it up. It's on the contrary.
Yeah. Well, you may have been used to in texting, IMHO, in my humble opinion. Don't confuse IMHO with IMNO, which means, as Teresa said, yeah, it means you're disagreeing with that statement. So let's start here. And any questions first on any of that? All right, let's start here and let's go to there. Yeah, because we'll have, yeah, there we go.
I can do it, but I haven't had a chance to read through the chapter yet, so it's going to be like sight reading for me.
That's the best way.
Okay, so line 21. Sira, Vedus imo formosus es nasus tuos. So she's saying Sirius is ugly. On the contrary, your nose is, let me look, formosus, I looked that up just now. It's like, beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, it's beautiful.
Think of the island, Formosa.
Oh, there you go. That'll help.
That, by the way, that
I keep thinking of the Formosan termites at each house.
No.
Okay.
The island was named Formosa because it was a very beautiful island. They used the Latin term.
But
Okay.
you're actually right that formic acid comes from ants.
Yeah, well, that's
From the termites, yeah.
okay. Yes, but ants are formica. An ant is a formica. So yes,
Yeah.
they have a similar
It is named from the ant.
what?
The acid,
Oh
formic
yes,
acid,
yes,
is
yes.
named from the ant.
From the ant, yes. But formosus and formica are two different words.
Not formica, formica.
Well, okay, but formica comes from formic acid. That's why it's called.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Learn something new every day.
And see, when you know
Yes.
when you know the secret words, you know all sorts of things that otherwise, or connections. Anyway, continue.
Okay. Julia se vertit. So Julia turns herself around. Iam sire lacrimas videt. Now Sira sees her tears. Sire, quid est mea Julia? Terge oculos, es leita. So Sira tells her, it says, what's wrong, my Julia? Wipe your eyes. Is that be happy? Telling her to be
Yes.
happy? Okay. Nasus tuus tam formosus es quam meos. Your nose is not as ugly as my nose.
No, no, no.
No,
Right.
No, is that right?
It's as
No.
Oh,
beautiful.
it's not as beautiful. I'm sorry.
No. For your nose,
Is more beautiful than my nose.
yes.
Okay. I'd flipped the words in my head. Okay.
Yeah, this is Tom and Quam. So
Right.
indicating that the first one is greater than or less than the second one, depending upon how you put it all together.
It's not is as beautiful as my nose.
Um,
Yeah, there's no mas formosus or
Yeah, you're right.
more.
There's
Your
no-
nose is as beautiful as my nose. That's
yeah,
it.
you're right.
I
take
see
that.
I see what's coming. This is a train wreck coming up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Well, we'll get to that. However, I want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
Quid est mea Julia? Translate that again.
Quid est is what is it? Or I'm drawing a blank on quid. I can never keep those things straight.
What?
What is it? Okay, what is it? Mea
Yeah,
Julia.
I would translate that somewhat loosely because Julia is crying. I would say, what is this, my Julia?
Okay.
Terge oculos, wipe your eyes or dry your eyes or clean your eyes. Terge is got a couple of meanings there. Es leta is be happy. Maybe we'll do the Don't Worry, Be Happy song someday in Latin.
I was wondering if that was gonna come up. Okay, do you want me to keep going or?
No, we are.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, we got one last section. And who
Wait a
has
minute, Michael,
what?
would you clear up that line 24? Because I thought it was your nose is as beautiful as my nose.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, what Alex said. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no I was thinking there was a adverb in there, but no. Your nose is as beautiful as mine is.
And see, I was thinking because we had talked before about how ugly Sarah's nose was.
Yes.
And so I had it in my head that her nose, she would say your nose is more beautiful than mine. So that's why that slipped out there. So I was trying to read into what I was thinking.
No.
And that's why line 25 makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We'll go to the end here. Who haven't we had yet? I see. I don't think we've had Michael or Maria yet, have we? Or for that matter, Allison? No volunteers?
I can try.
Give it a try.
Okay, Julia, sed nasus tuus non formosus est. She says, Julia, but your nose is not beautiful. Sira, quid nonne formosus est nasus meus? What? My nose is beautiful, isn't it? Julia. Imo
Yep.
Pedus est. Ecce speculum, sire. Mm, it is not beautiful, but ugly. Look at the mirror, sire.
Yeah,
Julia speculum.
I would translate emo to something like in English we might say au contraire. Or
Oh,
what else would we say? No way, Jose.
no way, Jose. Okay.
It is ugly.
Sure,
Yeah.
she has vision problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we have a, let's see, I'll just for the heck of it, let's see if they have a really good synonym. Yeah, on the contrary, yeah, see that we got to kind of do it by a phrase. On the contrary, no, indeed, by no means. Let's see here. Well, that's the best. So we'll just leave it at that.
Actually, I'm just applying what's in the book.
Okay.
They have like a equivalent for that term. So I'm just it
Oh,
says
well,
emo formosus,
yeah.
and then the equivalent is non pediced formosus. So that's just the equivalent according to they're on the right side. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Julia speculum tenet ante siram, quae nasum sum in speculo videt. Ancida oculus claudit et tacet.
Mhm.
Julia holds the mirror before Sira. She sees her nose in the mirror. The maidservant closes her eyes and says nothing.
Yeah. Touch it would be goes silent, is quiet. If you shout tace to your child, that basically means be quiet. So, all right. Any questions on that section?
So it means peace, right?
Yeah, it can mean that in the sense of be still, be quiet, settle down. It has a fairly extensive. Oh, let's see, tacheo. There we go. Yeah, see, isn't that? So to be silent.
Actually, I thought you said PACE.
PACE.
Oh, Pache?
Yes. P
Oh,
is in
no,
Paul.
that's Pache. Yes, that would be.
Okay, sorry. I see because the writing is kind of small for me to see on a phone.
Yeah, okay. Pache, yes.
Got it.
Is from Paco, or to come to an
In the case of a parent, it is not to make an agreement with. It is
well, you
will or else.
have Pax and Pachus, which is peace, but Pache is not really a if it would be okay. Pache is this verb Paco, which means to make her come to an agreement, to agree together. So it really doesn't mean peace in that sense. But you're right. Pache is the ablative form of pax, which they haven't had yet because it's third declension. So, but no, you want tache to mean peace. If you're telling somebody to be at peace, you would say tache. Okay, let's see.
I have a bit of an off-topic question. Are Latin dictionaries are generally organized by the first person present conjugation? I'm kind of used to the infinitive being how it's organized in Spanish.
Okay. Yes to the first part, no to the second part.
Okay.
Let me haul up this one. I'm going to do this one only because, see, can I make the print bigger? No. I think the print's a little easier to see in this one. So if we look up tacheo. Oh, this, okay. This is, all right, they're not doing the same. Let's do scriba. Tacheo. Okay, whoops. It'd be nice if I could type it in right. There we go. Yeah, you see tacheo cui citum, to VN and so the tacheo is the first person singular.
Okay.
In most Latin dictionaries, they will give you the first person singular. And that often enables you to identify which conjugation it belongs to.
That makes a lot of sense,
Sometimes,
actually.
yeah, many of them will then give you the ending of the conjugation, like an ERE. This is an ERE verb. Let's try amo here. Let's see. Now sometimes to save, oh yeah, okay, sometimes to save print, well, to save paper, they sometimes leave that out. But normally you would see the first person singular, the infinitive, the perfect tense, and then the perfect passive participle. And with those four, you then know what all the forms of the verb are. Some dictionaries will leave that out and put in first, meaning this is first conjugation. So it depends on the dictionary. This particular app is based off the Lewis and Short dictionary, so it will depend on the dictionary. But yes, it is always the first person singular. That, by the way, is why I like scriba, is because it will take a let's say amat. Okay. And it will tell you that amat is third person, and it has the conjugations built in, and will figure out what the actual dictionary entry is. Now, Scriba, as far as I know, only runs on the iPhone, maybe? Is that true? I don't know. Since I have an iPhone, I'm not all that familiar with what's on the Android. So if there's a nice one on the Android, let me know, because I'm sure there are Android users in here that would love it.
Michael?
Yeah.
Is tacere, is this an intransitive verb? I mean, that it's translated in the book as to be silent. So he is silent.
Well, hold on. Did they do? Well, okay. They said tachet.
Which means and is silent.
And is silent or quiet. Yes.
Right.
I don't think there's any way you can put.
So
I believe it is intransitive. I don't think there's any way you can get a direct object in there.
That's all I was trying to.
Let's see, pass in silence. That is done with words. Let's see. Omniscriptus said quite on touch it to. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it is an intransitive verb. I don't see tacite, rogare, ask quietly. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's an intransitive verb.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. Since I went to all the trouble of making those charts.
The charts are great.
Pardon?
The charts are great.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to take some time to memorize all this.
Yeah, let's see here. I think, oh, the dative. I never did talk about the dative. Good grief. Okay, let me talk about the dative before I forget. Okay, I pulled this chart from past slides. So yeah, all I did is I relabeled it dativus, the dative. Casus nominum sunt sex, meaning the number of cases are 6. And we've already talked about the nominative, which is subject, or in the case of a predicate noun, with the verb to be. Accusative is always a direct object. So Julius et Emilia habent 3 liberos, 3 children. Genitive is possessive. Marcus et Quintus filii Julii et Emiliae sunt. So the son of Julius and Amelia. And then the ablative, where we use it after a lot of prepositions, and the accusative is used after some. Accusative using motion towards, and the ablative motion away. But also by the ablative of means, or the ablative of instrument, which we had last time. But now we finally get the dative.
Sorry, I don't understand.
I guess.
Yeah, it makes 2 of us.
I guess Siri doesn't speak English or speak Latin. That's terrible. Anyway, we have the dative.
You said that.
That was my watch that said that. My watch does not speak Latin, sadly. That was Siri on my watch. I must have hit the crown to activate her. Anyway, the dative, which is an indirect object. So Julius unum malum davo dat. Julius gives 1 apple to Davos. I'm pulling apple from the next section. So the dative, the word dativus comes from the word dot, and we've already seen dot means to give, he gives. Yeah. Dot, he gives, dant, they give. So that's where it got its word or its name is in the sense of you're giving it to whom, and you use the dative. So the dative is used to show to whom you are giving something to, or is the recipient So let's leave it at that for a moment. Anyway, so Julius mala et pira Marco et Quinto dat. So Julius is giving apples and pears to Marcus and Quintus. Okay.
Hey, Michael, I got a question on the dative.
Sure.
Like on that sentence there, I noticed Marco and Quinto. Marco, to me, looks like it takes on the ablative. Is that right? So therefore, I guess it's understood that it's really a
okay.
object of the preposition that it's implied. Does that make sense?
No, it's because the dative. Whoops.
There you go. The dative and the ablative.
Dative and the ablative endings are identical.
I know, and that's thank you.
Let me finish for a moment. In the second declension, okay, not in the first. Notice that the dative is AE in the first declension, and just plain old A for the ablative in the second. So it's you're right. The endings are the same, but they're the same because these were second declension nouns. Okay. And in fact, if you look down here, I do have a feminine noun, Julius malum et pirum Juliae dat. So notice that Juliae, if we had the ablative form, we would say Julia, but we don't. We say Juliae. So it just so happens that for the second declension, they end in O, which happens to match the ablative. But for the first declension, they do not match.
Michael?
Yeah.
In a similar vein, I don't want to get too far ahead, but on line 63 of this story, if you could just look at it quickly.
Second here.
There's a line in there in line 63
Yeah, that's in the second section, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Where it says Julius Aemiliae Oculum dot. So is Aemiliae in the dative there? The last sentence.
Oh, would you care to repronounce that fourth word?
Osculum?
Yes, you said.
Osculum. Sorry, I keep
So what
saying
you
that.
said
Osculum.
is Amelia gave her husband an eye, an eyeball.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, osculum. Excuse me.
Yes,
A kiss.
osculum.
Okay, he gives her a kiss.
That's why I was so thrown for a moment there. I go, what?
Well, I guess he could do that too. That would
Well,
be
hey, Van Gogh
unusual,
gave
yeah.
his girlfriend an ear, so Amelia can, gouge out an eye, I guess.
I do think I pronounced the S, so I confused.
Well, it sounded like oculum. Maybe.
Okay.
Wait, is that actually why Van Gogh cut off his ear
What?
to give to his girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Amelia there is in the dative.
No, Amelia.
Oh, no, not that sentence. The next sentence.
Oh, yes.
Julius Aemiliae Osculum dot. He
Yes.
gives to Amelia a
Yeah.
kiss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
would just bring that up as an example of what you were just showing us.
Yes, exactly. And in this case, since that's feminine, we need the A
Right.
ending in there.
Right.
So, but if you think about it, now let's go back to my example here and help poor Michael out. So, all right, let's pretend we think this is in the ablative, just for the heck of it.
Okay.
So, okay, Julius gives. Well, if that's ablative, he didn't give those. So this must be accusative. Gives mala, apples, pira, pears, by means of Marcus and Quintus. Well, that doesn't sound right. Right?
No.
To make that sentence into any sensible format, you then have to say, oh, to Marcus and Quintus. So yeah, if
Yeah, but to Marcos and to Quintus could also be, in my head, I'm thinking, well, that can also be ablative. It has a dual, it could either be ablative or dative, depending on which. I mean, either one works.
But where's
no, because hold on. No, how do you get to Marcus and Quintus if it's ablative?
where's the preposition?
Where's the preposition?
The
Yeah.
preposition's understood, is what I'm saying.
No, not in that case.
Well, how come well, we've been reading stuff where they kind of don't put in a word.
Okay, that has to do with places, locations.
Okay.
Yes.
And also, ablative of means specifically doesn't apply when there are people involved.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. But let me continue for a moment. Julius mala et pira servis, that should probably be a low kick. Servis dot. Julius gives apples and pears to the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
For the feminine, these are the masculine, Julius malum apirum Juliae dot. So we do see that in the case of the feminine singular, it does have an ending. Actually, it does have an ending different from the ablative. And then Julius malum apirum ancilis dot. And what's interesting is in the plural, the dative and the ablative endings are all the same. They're all is. So. So.
That's one thing I think that those of us that started with you, the first iteration, memorizing those charts was a pain. And I've actually pulled out my little whiteboard last night and was going over them again. That helps me so much in being able to put sentences together, is understanding the word endings rather than reading the sentence and trying to remember what the word ending is. So
Now, do you-
that part was really helpful. This combination of the strict grammar and the natural method or whatever is I think it's a good combination for those of us that have gone through the boot camp before.
Well,
Okay,
even
when
those
you-
that haven't, you need to summarize the grammar at some point in order.
Yeah.
And when you look at your charts, are your charts just like this, where it just has the ending, the 2 or 3 letters, depending on what
Yes.
Yes,
case
yes.
it is? Okay, instead of trying to memorize the whole word, like insulate,
Yeah.
you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like-
it whichever is easier.
Well, this is definitely easier.
Oh, well, then use it.
Yeah, well, I guess this weekend I'm going to be staring at this thing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, like I said, yeah, I
But,
have
you
this.
know, you
I got
can-
one of those little personal whiteboards. Like you this
Yeah.
now's a good time to get them, as all the school supplies are on sale. And get
Mhm.
yourself a fine tip dry erase marker and one sheet of plastic to go over the top of it. Like, so you can go to Office Depot and get the old like overhead plastic sheets they used to have. And
Mhm.
I will write the chart on the whiteboard, and then I'll put the plastic on top of it, and then I can, with the dry erase marker, fill in the chart and erase it and fill it in and erase it and fill it in and erase it without having to redo my lines and stuff all the time. So that helps me to get more repetition down with the writing and memorization.
But I'd like to offer just an alternative view, Michael. And
Okay.
and that is trying to memorize all of this at one time can be too much.
Yeah.
And
It's
this
overwhelming.
and what the author of this book, the Familia Romana, is doing, he's trying to feed you just a little bit at a time, so that it's not too much for you to take in, for
Mhm.
you and me and everybody else.
Yep.
And so if you can master what he's introducing at one time, say in this particular story, the dative as he's using it here, then you can focus on that. And as each succeeding chapter comes, then he's introducing new grammar, so that you're not having to memorize everything all at once.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. As far as the data, you got to know the data for the different declensions and everything. So you still need to kind of have charts to, because they are different, slightly. So
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I'm
you got to
what I'm
find the
tr-
system that works for you, basically.
yeah,
Well, right
my-
now, as I'm reading this, I have to go to like his charts that Michael has given us thus far, and I start flipping through them to try to figure out, well, what is this word again? And what's it? What does it mean in the sentence? What's it like? If I was to diagram the sentence, what part of the sentence is that, or what part of speech is that? Is what I'm trying to say. Ugh. So
the
and
more
I
you
don't-
under-
go
the more
ahead.
you understand, Michael, why the words end the way they end in the story, the
Mhm.
better off you are. That's the best way. You understand the grammar and how the grammar is applied in this particular story,
Mhm.
and that's plenty. And I'm not telling you not to memorize the chart. I'm just saying that the most important thing is to understand why the words read the way they do in the story.
Oh, yeah. Well, and plus, I got to tell you, Alex, plus doing the homework, the pensum, it helps because it kind of they keep kind of like pounding like one of the exercises. It's just reinforcing what they already told you in the story, to learn the difference that, okay, this is the dative singular female, or is it plural, male, whatever. And that's where I probably learned the most, is doing the exercises, but they take the
Sure.
longest because I'm trying to understand them.
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it is almost 9 o'clock. Let's see. Let me go through. We went through that. Actually, let me go back up here. We did reflexes. Okay, I'll mention heek, hake, and hawk, which sounds like you're clearing your throat, doesn't it? There, and by the way, there's been various jokes about that. Heek, hake, and hawk are used to indicate something close to the subject. In English, we use the word this. So hic vir, this man, haec rosa, this rose, hoc malum, this apple. Okay, nothing too mysterious about it. It kind of forms a pattern that sort of matches some of the declensions we have. It is an irregular verb. Okay, so, or sorry, not a regular verb. It is an irregular
Michael, I got a real quick question.
pronoun. Yeah.
You have a hic rosa, and it says this rose.
Hake.
Isn't hic the plural?
No, it isn't. Hic, hake, hawk, nominative, subject, singular.
Oh, I went down to the next. I went down to nominative.
Yes, 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 yes. The good news is right now, I think they're only, well, I'm not sure which ones they're using. I'd have to go back. But as I said, it is irregular. Okay, so it's not hikos, heka, hickum. You know, it isn't the nice USAUM ending. It kind of makes sense.
Well, plus it's female because of Rosa.
Yes, yes.
You're identifying it with the rose, which is of the female gender or tense or whatever.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's grammatically feminine. Yep.
Right.
Anyway, I dropped this in. This is actually from my big list. I'll eventually, once we start filling in conjugations and some of the other tenses, I'll probably send out that PDF. The only reason I don't send it out is I don't want to kind of either intimidate or blow any
Overwhelm.
yeah, overwhelm.
Or have a suicide case on your hands.
That's it, yeah, exactly. So but we'll get to it eventually. And again, this is given in the book in the back if you have the companion. So
right.
But we are introduced to it. It is actually in that section. Let's see. I think we start out. Let's see. Where is it?
Yeah,
About line 40.
41.
41, yeah. Hic sacum pone.
Okay. Now, all right. Okay. I'm glad you said that, Michael, because you fell into my trap. Thank you very much. No.
Well done, Michael.
Yay!
You're a great straight man.
I know I am.
All right.
Right.
The long I, the heek and the ilik are here and there. Okay, so the way of thinking it of is this is the adjective form. Well, maybe that's a bad way of saying it. Okay, it's a demonstrative pronoun, but you think of it as an adjective for the moment. And this one is the adverb that says where it is. Okay, so if we go back to, whoops, where, here it is.
941.
Hic sacum pone Leander is put the sack or the bag here, Leander. Okay. Not put this sack. Okay. And the dead giveaway is that long I.
So the difference is between, you got to look for either the short I or
look for that little macron. Yes.
macron again.
Yes. The macaronis.
Absolutely.
Michael, in the old days, they didn't have macrons. So you just had to make, you had to judge it by the context.
by the context. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to make
Romans
comment.
actually-
That's a good argument for having a macron right there. you know?
Well, and the Romans actually did use them from time to time. They weren't real obvious. They would put a little dot over the long vowels and cases to distinguish between them. But here it is. Okay, put the sack here, Leander. Julius, videte pueri, hic saccus plenus malorum est. Look, kids, children, this sack. See, no macron. So we have
Full
it.
of apples.
We have it. This sack is full of apples. And they have a little hint up here. Hic saccus qui apud me est, or hic est, meaning near me or is here. So the two words are very much related, because when you say this sack, you're talking about the sack that is right here. So in this case, we're using it as a adjective, even though it's a demonstrative pronoun. It's a fancy name for something that is used kind of like as an adjective. And then you have the adverb form. Okay. So that was,
Michael, are you telling us that we have to watch our pronunciation with that word?
yes, you do. Hic and heek.
Well, since I never mispronounce words, then it's not a problem.
No, I know. Neither do I. Other people do all the time, but it's not me. Yeah.
So if they're trying to illustrate their cousin from the backwoods, would it be hick hick?
Ooh, ooh.
Something like that, yes. But you have to be in front of them at the time.
True.
Yeah, so it's yeah, and people have compared that to throat clearing, or you're about to spit something or something. But yeah, most of the time they're using the nominative form, as I recall, in this section. Let me bring it back up just for a quick. I think they have, yeah, and we can also you can also look in the Latine disco. See, they have the dative. They talk about the dative, the interrogative, the inflexive. Oh, maybe. Oh, here it is. Yes, referring to things close to them. Yeah, hic, hic, hoc. They only give you in the nominative form at the moment, so you don't have to worry about all the wonderful other forms of it yet. But
that's what I mean, Michael. That he's intentionally trying to introduce just a little bit at a time.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the pattern for the natural method, is they do not dump it. Michael, it may seem like they're dumping a lot of grammar on you, and they are. I mean, it's not insignificant, but they want to gradually, let's see, you live out on the West Coast, right?
Correct.
I'm sure you've been swimming in the Pacific, right?
I have in the past, yes.
It is cold. Isn't it?
Mhm.
Has anybody seen what the beach water temperature is down at Galveston? It's probably at least in the 80s, maybe the 90s. Well, the Pacific is what, maybe 40s?
It's in the very low 90s right now.
The low 90s?
Libby described it as bath water, and that was in February.
Yeah. Well, we're blessed with a heated Gulf of Mexico. But anyway,
Blessed unless you count the bacterial count, but
well,
that's a different issue.
That's a different problem. Yeah, but
They're
anyway,
thriving too.
yeah, no surprise. Well, that's because people are going there. So anyway, yeah, they're looking at it this way. They're leading you to the Pacific Ocean, and they're kind of leading you in slowly. They want you to start with like your ankles getting wet or they get you out into the deep water and you realize, whoa, this is cold. So anyway, let's see. I think that's everything I have for this time. Yeah, we'll see more of these later. I didn't put together charts, but basically you take those prepositions that we've had before and you stick you take the verb. So inest, which we've had, meaning in. Venit, or venit, sorry, short e. Venit is he comes, but advenit, for which we have advent, or ad it comes to, ex it goes out of. So op it goes away from. So you can construct new verbs from the preposition plus the verb to indicate motion. Julia e cubuculo exit. Julia exits from the bedroom. So you've had all of the words in there. We're just kind of joining them up together.
And nothing about kabuki dancing.
No kabukis. Yeah, that was, well, okay. Now you got me doing it again. Cubiculo is the diminutive form of cubitum. So what happened is I think both words went out on the output bus and then got tangled up. So cubitum is bed, actually, and a cubiculo is the bedroom or the little bedroom. So anyway,
Michael,
yes.
can you go back to that line that you were just showing us?
This one?
Yeah. Have you noticed what the point is that they're making there?
Yes, they get doubled up.
Well, I wonder, that's such a peculiar thing. So you're not supposed to be repeating it. You just repeat one of the prepositions. You see what
I
they're
lost you there. In fact, no, you have it in both the verb and the preposition.
I know, but I'm saying that when you're translating it.
Oh, well.
So like Julia a cubiculo exit. You're not going to say Julia leaves out of the cubiculo.
Yeah, you could, well, there's a couple ways you could do that, actually.
But surely they don't mean to repeat that same word.
You mean in English?
Yes, when you're translating.
No, in English. Well, okay, exit means to go out from or go out of. And then yeah, I guess you really can't do that in English.
You can't do that.
Not easily. Not easily in English.
So that raises the question, is that done often where they repeat that? Well, that's what the sentence says, I guess, but I was just wondering if that's your sense of it as well.
Often.
Well, I'm asking you.
Yes, no, it often repeats it.
Okay. But the point is that you don't translate it that way.
No. I don't see a good way to do that in English without it coming out rather let's see. Julia. Here we go. Julia goes forth from the bedroom. There we go. You have to strain a bit to get both of them in there in English, but yeah, you can, but you have to strain a little bit.
Well, what would be the translation of the first one then? That quid inest
in saches. What? Yeah, see, in English, we would not say what is in the sack. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can put the two ins in there. But or maybe you'd say what is contained in the sack. You'd have to pick a.
You still have to strain to do that.
Yeah, you still have to strain it a little bit. Yeah, really, in English, you'd say what is in the sack.
So then that second that in is really it's being redundant. You really don't need it.
You're right, actually. You could say quid est in sacis.
Right.
That would be perfectly understandable. That would be perfectly. And you could say Julius ad villa.
You could say quid est and drop the in and just say quid est in sacis.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you could say quid est in
All
sacis.
3 different ways you can say it.
Yeah, well, you could, you can do maybe not in this particular case, but you can often do similar things in English.
I just that redundancy thing, that's when I go to translate it, I'm sitting there going, what are they trying to say here?
Well, okay. Be careful of what I call the secret decoder ring. If you have a code, like A is now Q and B is a Z, and so you have a secret decoder ring and you move it around and you get all the letters. You got to be a little careful of mapping one Latin word to one English word too tightly. Okay. Language, excuse me, is a very fluid.
That's why it's an art and not a science.
Yeah, and that's why I tell you what. Next time, we're out of time. Next time, let me mention this. Okay, did you know hoc malum, this apple? What's another word, English word that is associated with malum?
Evil.
Evil, yeah. We've been reciting the Our Father.
Or bad.
Yeah.
Like bad apple.
Sed libera nos a malo. Okay, this is not a prayer to deliver us from apples.
Oh, all of a sudden I thought it
That's
was.
why that hilarious poem of yours
Yeah,
about the bad apples is so
I'm
funny.
getting to that. I have I'm not going to bring it up now, but I'll do it next time. I have an absolutely tortuous Latin poem that uses
It's not, it's
and
hysterical.
malum and all the various forms of that word that can mean evil or apple tree, or it just with a subtle shift. And you drop it into Google Translate and it makes no sense whatsoever. And that's because Google Translate is trying to map one word to another word. So
well, Malo in the Garden of Eden.
Okay. Yeah. Now malum,
I know it's kind of stretching it, but
well, and that's exactly why they play that little in the Latin. Now malum, when we say apple, can mean any fruit, not just the classical apple that William Tell.
That's a lot like reading books from before the turn of the century where they talk about corn.
Yes.
Corn is the word for grain, not in general.
Yes.
Not corn on the cob.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. Michael should probably hide his eyes because it may blow his mind out. But it is. I actually had to get out my dictionary and go very carefully through each and every word in order to untangle it. But it is a masterpiece. Of whoever put this together was a genius.
I admit to really loving it.
It is, yeah. Anyway, let's finish up here with the final prayer. Okay. Chapter 7, part 2. Do try and do the exercises. Oh, I almost forgot. For those that got here late, I have a huge backlog of ungraded exercises for which I apologize. But what happened is it was a bug introduced into the website. I don't know how. And the feedback fields all vanished. So if I marked you off for a macron or this or that, I had no way of telling you why I marked it off. And so I finally got on the chat with the Hackett folks and I forget who runs the actual who actually runs the website. Junction Education. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And it turns out that somewhere along the line, something went burp. And so they're going to fix it, but it won't be fixed until this weekend. And some of you guys were having other problems with the website, and I suspect it may be all related. Hopefully this weekend, the problem will go away and I can begin getting the backlog, because I have an absolute huge number for which I am gratified. See, look at all these. Ooh, yeah, I got what about, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I must have about 18, 20 of these that I need to grade. The reason they're highlighted in red is I went in there to try to see, to start grading them, and the fields were missing. Then I tried another one thinking, oh, maybe it's just this one. And finally, I went back to ones that I had graded ages ago, and they were, they had the same problem. So it'll be fixed.
One more thing before I forget, Michael.
Yeah.
The next speaker at Annunciation, there's a problem in the bulletin. They're saying Thursday, September 8th. Well, September 8th is Friday, so I think it's going to be September 7th. But that's coming up, and I do have people that want to come with me.
Okay.
So we may want to look at the class schedule
Well,
for
let's
September.
see now. I think
That's also Mary's birthday, so I usually go to Mass in her honor on that day, too.
yes. Yeah, no, the 3rd is the next Thursday, which should be clear. And then actually it's the feast of what is it? Feast of, oh no, the 4th is the feast of Saint Dominic. So yeah, okay, so it's the 10th is what you're saying, right?
What's the no, I think until they get it cleared up, and I mentioned it to one of the
I
ushers,
thought
I
it was
mentioned it
the
to Gabe, and Gabe said they've been having some problems with whoever's in the office lately with messing up stuff. So when they put the bulletin together, they put it, they always have the speakers on Thursday night.
Right,
So I
right,
think it's
yeah,
September.
no.
Yeah, I think it's September 7th, not September 8th.
September or August?
September. I remember because of the
Right,
Mary birthday
birthday.
thing.
Okay, well, that's next month, so we'll worry about
Right.
that later. Sorry,
Okay.
I was thinking August, and I go, wait. That's September, wrong month. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, we'll go on to chapter 7, part 2, and hopefully the web glitches will clear themselves up and I'll be able to get to the homework. So with that, I will mute everybody. And we will say the Oratio Finalis. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Pater noster, qui es in caelis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. And so we are now